Well, hello and welcome once again to the DCL podcast, where we're inviting you to sit back, relax, and we'll be on our way shortly. Well, welcome back to the DCL podcast, your podcast to help you and your family cruise a little smarter, except for when we're not talking about Disney cruising. But I'd like to welcome to the show again today for the second time. How you doing today, Christy?
I am well, Steve. You know, I brought up this recording schedule with my family today at dinner, and I said, this is one of those times where, Steve, we don't talk for a month. You set up like 7 recordings in a row or 4 or something. And then what? Are we going to not talk again for a month?
No, because we're going to talk tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock at 6 a.m. my time.
This is part of the continuation of this month.
It is.
Or this week. It's a whole lot of Steve.
It is. It's probably way too much, Steve. So, hey, Christy, we have a special guest today. What if I told you our guest was funny, opinionated, but lovable? Would you agree?
Yes.
And
I would absolutely agree.
And so you're definitely not talking about Donald.
Oh, man, you ruined it. I was going to say, welcome back to the show, Donald Duck.
All right.
I'm glad I ruined it. You're not talking about Donald.
You weren't going to let me do that, were you? Well, welcome to the show, Chris, down in LA. How you doing today, Chris?
Good. Every show where I get to not be a co-host and I just get to be a guest is my favorite.
You know what? I think it's like most of our listeners' favorites too, because they love your takes and your sense of humor and everything else. But this time, instead of talking about a cruise, we get to talk about 2 pretty special things that you got to do, which was your return to Walt Disney World, but not just by yourself. This time you took somebody else with you.
Yeah, I took Seth. And I took, for the first time in my entire life, I took a child to Disneyland who is a member of my family because we have a new foster kid. It was amazing. Spoiler alert, the idea of seeing Disney through the eyes of someone who is not a Disney adult is not something I've had the experience of doing in a long time because I'm just in that Disney adult category. But it was really special to be able to see Disney World through the eyes of a 13-year-old.
So Disney World, not Disneyland.
I know, Chris Bright, who gets the wrong park and the wrong coast. You did take your foster child to Disneyland.
Did I say Disneyland instead of Disney World? Oh, well, I took them to Disneyland first. So maybe that's where my brain was. The first experience in a theme park was in the rightful theme park of Walt's first original park, Disneyland in Anaheim, California.
I mean, if you can't keep the 2 parks straight, do you really know what you're talking about?
Oh, I'm an expert.
Do you even get to throw shade at the parks if you just got the park wrong? I'm not sure.
I'm an expert. Don't worry. Sometimes you just remember that your very first park with your kiddo was actually Disneyland, as it should be. But my second park was California Adventure, as it should be. And my third park was Epcot, actually, because that's the park I went to on my very first day. So, yeah.
As it should be.
As it should be, actually. That's accurate. So anyway, Steve, I'll throw it back to you to give a proper whatever you want to do intro. But yeah, we took him to Disney World.
Okay, so after your Freudian slip there with Disneyland, you guys actually went to Disney World. Kind of give everybody an overview of why you took this trip, or just an overview of the trip itself. How long was it? And kind of your overall thoughts, your initial thoughts of going there, and how was it?
So longtime listeners will know that Seth and I have been on a family planning journey, and we've had a 7-month-old, we've had a 21-day-old, and now we have a 13-year-old. We actually were supposed to go to Disney World for Run Disney in January. And then Omicron, that saucy lady, just ruined everything. And we ended up coming back to California. One thing led to another, and we found ourselves as parents again, this time to an amazing 13-year-old foster kid. For listeners, just know that it's pretty important to sort of like not talk about a ton of details related to my foster kiddos. So you're going to hear me just refer to them as them and that they're a 13-year-old. But just so you know, that's why I'm saying that. But yeah, we had this trip booked with Christy. We had to cancel it. Disney was super cool about canceling it because of COVID. And it wasn't like the money was going back. It was sort of like they were like, we'll hold your spot and you tell us when you can go. So we ended up booking this for their spring break. Mind you, we have never planned a trip to Disney during spring break if we could ever avoid it, because, you know, spring break in Disney is a lot. But we got the experience of doing that. Yeah, that's how the trip came to be. It had to be that week. It had to be Disney World because that's where our money was. It was pretty much fell into place over like, we only had a couple months to plan it. You all will also know that I'm not a couple month ahead planner. I like to plan far in advance. So this was new for me as well.
So you guys were there for how long?
A week, Saturday to Saturday.
Saturday to Saturday.
Okay, let's talk about where you stayed on this trip. So there was obviously a hotel change from your January trip. Not obviously, people don't know, but from your January trip to your
March trip.
Trip.
So originally we were going to stay at Pop Century because we like the Skyliner for Run Disney weekends because of Epcot. And you don't have to leave the parks and wait for Disney transport. You can just walk through the backside of Epcot and then take the Skyliner back to your hotel. So that's why we had originally picked Pop. But when we were going to be bringing a foster kiddo with us, we wanted a little more space and we wanted a little bit of a more comfortable accommodation. But we also knew it was spring break, so any of the deluxe resorts were out. And so we were like, we can't stay in a deluxe, but we can definitely swing a moderate. So let's switch it over to a moderate. So of the moderates, I have actually stayed at one of them before, which is Coronado. And I stayed at it before the like refresh and before Grand Destino was like a major thing. And so I was like, you know what, I'd like to see Coronado around that time. So I had Christy pull a quote on Coronado and maybe Caribbean Beach, maybe what are the New Orleans moderates? Basically all the different moderates. Yeah. When push came to shove, it seemed like we would get the most for the least with Coronado. So we booked Coronado.
So how did that work out for you? As far as, you know, experiencing the parks and everything else, was that a good place for you guys to stay? Did you have a rental car or were you using Disney transportation?
Yeah, so we ended up doing a rental car. We're still a little bit uneasy about, at the time that we booked it, Omicron was still everywhere and numbers were increasing. So we wanted to limit our like mass transport options. And so we were like, let's just rent a car this trip. Christy taught us something we didn't know, which is if you're staying in the resorts, you don't have to pay for theme park parking, which I guess makes sense, but I didn't realize that. So that was nice because it's like, yes, you have to pay nightly parking fees, but then you can park anywhere on property for free or included. That was the plan. We got a rental car, hated this rental car, do not recommend a Mazda, whatever it was, but it did the trick. It was nice enough. It was an SUV, so we had enough room.
Wait, yeah, that thing was an SUV. That was a tiny SUV. It was like a non-SUV SUV.
It was basically like a hatchback with a bunch of quirks, but we don't have to talk about the rental car. It was the least important part of the trip. But yes, we parked. Also, I don't know if you've never stayed at a Walt Disney World resort. It's not like on the cruise where you mostly know what room you're staying in unless you do the guaranteed rate. And so you have no idea where you're going to stay. And if you pick a big property like Coronado, and when I say Coronado is a big property, I mean Coronado is a massive hotel property. It could take you easily a 15-minute walk to the main lobby from parts of this hotel. It's that big. So one thing that you should know when you stay at a Walt Disney World hotel is that sometimes they'll give you a little drop-down menu at check-in of preferences. And you can say what your most important preference and your second most important preference. And I thought to myself, it might get us a little closer to the hotel lobby if we said that we wanted to be near the pool, because I knew where the pool was. It's just across 3 bridges from the lobby. We ended up getting put like right next to the pool, like right next to the pool. And That was a great place. We stayed in the cabanas buildings. They have cabanas, ranchitos, and casitas. Mm-hmm. And we stayed in the cabanas buildings. We found that it was about a 5-minute walk to the lobby where we stayed, which was great. And like a 3-minute walk to the pool, which was also great. So that worked out for us. What else do you want to know about Coronado?
I would like to know if you ate, because one of the reasons we picked this property for you over another is all the amazing on-site, at least I think they're amazing. And there's ample on-site dining options. Three Bridges is fantastic. And it has outdoor dining, which
was important to us.
Yep. So did you eat on property at your resort? Where did you eat? What did you think of it?
We ended up eating on property 4 times. We did mobile order to go for Three Bridges because the wait was too long. But I've eaten at Three Bridges before, so I know it's good. We did eat at this place called Rick's Sports Bar or something.
What's your favorite?
Yeah, I love a good sports bar. And then we ate at their like main marketplace, which is like their quick service. We did breakfast one morning. We did lunch one day. One thing that I've never done on a Disney World trip as much as I did this time was go back to the hotel in the middle of the day. And part of that is because our foster kiddo needed it and is also obsessed with swimming. This kid is sort of like a human fish combo. So
it wasn't even warm on your trip.
No, but you have to understand, Floridians think that 80 degrees is cold. When we were there, we were like, nice, this is great. Also, Disney World could stand to lower the temperature of their pools. We felt like we were getting in like bathtubs, but I digress. It was super fun. We actually did all but one day, we did some sort of water activity. So we either went to a pool or to a water park every day but one day of our trip because our foster kiddo loves swimming. For those of you who don't know, the pool, the main pool, because there's also 3 smaller pools, but the main pool at Coronado Springs is called the Dig Site, and it looks like a giant Aztec temple with waterfall running down the stairs. And they have a jaguar water slide, which is really cool. When you go down it, a jaguar spits water on you, which is fun. And they had a bunch of hotel amenities we didn't use, to be honest. We didn't use any of the like, come and make s'mores with us, or come and do a mosaic tile of a Mickey Mouse head, or stuff like that. We just didn't have time. Why didn't you
do either of those choices?
We just didn't have time. But honestly, if you did a 2-week vacation, this hotel had every night movies out under the stars. Every night they had like mosaic-y things. Also, people like Coronado because now that they've built the Gran Destino, it feels the most like a deluxe value resort. Like it's a moderate, but it has so many deluxe amenities. It has a gym. None of the other moderates have a gym. It has a lot of food options, some of which have like high quality food. Most of the other moderates aim at that middle level of like, yeah, it's pretty good food. You'll like it. But all of that to say, it just felt new and sparkly. All the rooms have been renovated. The like TV was massive. I don't know what, this TV is huge. The like fake hardwood floors felt a little more clean to me. The beds were comfy. The linens were clean. I can't say that it's going to be the same as a deluxe because it's not exactly, but for the price we paid, it is definitely a worthwhile option. And last but not least, if you're going for Disney theming, not your hotel. There is minimal Disney theming here. It's very subdued. In fact, the most Disney theming we found on property was actually in the Gran Destino Tower because they did a lot of like Gaudi art installations that have like little hidden Mickeys, but it's very understated Mickey Mouse theming. Very much sort of like Spanish inspired resort. It sort of feels like Barcelona light.
That being said, when we went to Three Bridges, Christy, with Onaway, the 3 of us there, the sun was kind of setting and having sort of that Mayan temple over the pool and everything like that. You know, maybe it's not Disney theming, but it does have some really cool theming with those vibes. So I really like that. And my favorite part about a Disney trip is going back and spending time in the pool in the afternoon. I do love that. So did you like that?
Yeah, I liked it. I'm not going to lie. I did the water slide more than our foster kid. I was like going again. And it was like me and then like 8-year-olds.
Yeah, I was
And I
gonna
felt
say.
so embarrassed and also so excited.
Yeah.
Also, it's funny because there's no lifeguard up there. So it's just like a red light, green light situation. And the kids are so intense. They're like, green, green, it's
Go.
green, you can go. Like it has been green for a millisecond and they're already yelling at you to go. So it was high stress, but I made it through for the fun. Also, they let you sit upright on that slide. You don't have to lay back. And I find that to be a little more fun. So I was into it. I was so into that water slide. And like I said, there's a jaguar that spits water out of its mouth at you.
I did not know that.
And you can lean your head one way or the other to not get hit by the water. And it became like a fun game for me to try to avoid the acid rain from the jaguar's mouth. So it was a fun adult. There's also a bar. We had some beverages. It was great. There's a volleyball pit over there. There's an arcade randomly. Disney hotels and their arcades are so funny to me because it's totally like the 90s called and they want their activity back. But it's just there, a giant arcade that looks reminiscent of 90s Chuck E. Cheese. Also, I cannot state enough how gorgeous, like world-class gorgeous, the Gran Destino lobby is. Like this thing looks like artisans from Barcelona came and built this thing. It is so pretty. And our kid loves nature and it's kind of out of the way a bit. So there's like wild rabbits and lizards everywhere. And like, they thought everything they saw was an alligator. So they're like, an alligator. And I was like, probably not. But it was like, it was very nature, very beautiful. I'm not gonna sugarcoat that it's the best resort on property. It's not. But of the moderates, gorgeous, very, very cost effective, pretty good food, and not that inconveniently located. It's really close to Hollywood Studios and Epcot. It's like really close, maybe a 5-minute drive to both.
And Animal Kingdom.
And Animal Kingdom, yeah. The only thing it's far away from is Magic Kingdom and the water parks and Disney Spring.
Magic Kingdom is far from everything, but Magic Kingdom resorts. So realistically...
Oh, and I lied. It's not far from every water park. Blizzard Beach across the street. But Typhoon Lagoon is all the way over by Disney Springs. So it just really depends on what you're looking for, but it felt centrally located. I think you can even see some fireworks shows from the like rooftop restaurants and stuff. We didn't go up there.
Yeah. From
there's
Toledo.
And for those of you who don't know the history of why they built Gran Destino, that hotel is Disney's conference center hotel. They have a conference center at the Grand Floridian that's tiny, tiny. But the big, big conference center on Walt Disney World property is at Coronado Springs. And what do conference centers attract? People from all different levels of a company, including executives. And executives were like, we're not staying in the casitas okay? We need something a little nicer. So they built Gran Destino to appeal to executives and higher ups in companies to have a place to stay near the conference. And then they were like, well, we can't have this really nice, beautiful, brand new tower and not redo all the rooms here. So they redid every room on property. And honestly, the whole property benefited from Gran Destino being built there. And in fact, we pondered with Christy, we could have afforded to stay in Gran Destino, but Gran Destino has the bathroom, toilet, tub, sink all combined. And the other rooms have doors that divide the sink area and the bathroom area.
And the shower is clear. So there's zero chance you can share that with a 13-year-old. Maybe a same gender.
It would be complicated.
It would be complicated. Like, because people don't walk around.
The thing is, with a foster kid, especially, you want to create modest spaces for everybody. And so Christy guided us away from the Destino Tower, even though those are really cute hidden Mickey in every Gran Destino Tower room that I think they could have easily put in all the other rooms, but they didn't. For those of you who are wondering, there's one bolt on the door that's Mickey Mouse's face for the bathrooms, but just one of them. Like it looks like an iron bolt, but if you look closely, it's Mickey's face, and I think that's adorable. Anyway, all that to say, we were really pleased with the hotel, and we would stay there again if it weren't for the fact that I like new things and I like different experiences. And we probably won't stay in the same hotel twice, but maybe. It was really nice. We liked it. You should try it.
Well, let's turn to another topic, which I know is near and dear to your heart. You are, people from the podcast know that you have very, I'm trying to find the right word for it, but you have very good taste when it comes to food. So kind of give us an overall of your food experience at Walt Disney World this week. Did you guys book a lot of things ahead of time? And what were some of the highlights that you guys got to experience?
So we planned to not eat indoors. And Walt Disney World, because it's Florida and Florida is so humid and hot, doesn't have actually very many outdoor dining options. So at Epcot, there was a fair amount, and the Food and Wine Festival, or no, what is it called right now? Flower and Garden Festival. But it's basically, they have food booths at every festival at Epcot. The Flower and Garden Festival is going on, so we knew we'd eat good there. Let's see, sit-down meals, we had a sit-down meal at Rose and Crown that has a really nice outdoor patio right on the World Showcase Lagoon. Of course, I got fish and chips, and of course, it was delicious. We had some really fun stuff at the Flower and Garden Festival. They have like street corn on the cob that's like fire roasted and just like really delicious, and they dip it in like butter. So of course, yes. Steve, you'll appreciate this. We made sure to eat at Regal Eagle with Christy. And it was the first time Christy and I had ever met each other in person was that day. We've spent hundreds of hours talking to each other in our lifetime, and we had never met in person. So that was a special meal. Our first meal together was at Regal Eagle in Epcot in the sunlight. The food was good. Christy guided us towards the pulled pork because last time she had gone, the ribs weren't that good. So I got the pulled pork and I loved it.
I think everybody tried that pulled pork, and
everyone thought it was delicious. They also have so many good barbecue sauces.
Oh yeah.
It was good. Regal Eagle is much better than Flame Tree Barbecue in the Animal Kingdom. So if you're going to get barbecue in a theme park, pick Regal Eagle over Flame Tree.
I would even say it's better than Polite Pig over at Disney Springs, but people would probably argue with me on that.
Yeah, I was going to say that's probably a throwdown statement that I don't have any. I don't have any skin in that game because I don't really care. Polite Pig tastes good too. What else? Homecoming. You know that a trip to Florida is not complete without a trip to Art Smith's Homecoming, as long as you can handle gluten. And for those of you who don't know, Homecoming is a really hard to get reservation.
I also think there's no G in it. Homecoming.
Is it Homecoming? Oh, sorry.
I think so.
Well, Art Smith's Homecoming is a hard reservation to get. I'm not kidding. If it's important to you to eat there, you'll want to book it at your 60-day out for sure, because we had to watch it like a hawk to get a reservation. We tried for Space 220, didn't get that. We ate at some sort of tap house that's right across the street from
Baseline and Hollywood Studios.
No. This is in Disney Springs, right? Literally directly across from the Cirque tent or the Cirque du Soleil building.
Oh, CityWorks. Yeah, we ate outdoors at CityWorks. Pretty good. I got cheese curds, so I was happy. I'm trying to think what else. The food, in terms of the food, we avoided the food in Star Wars Land, as should everybody. Not good. We didn't eat it. It just wasn't our jam in California, and we just decided not to waste any valuable stomach space at Star Wars Land. Though if you want to try food at Star Wars Land, the best thing there is the Ronto wrap. So go wild on that. I just have to tell you this because it was such a terrible start to our vacation. We got to Florida and found out that all the stuff was closed early, and we got in really late. Our flight was delayed and we needed to eat. So we found a Wendy's that was open. We sat in that drive-through line for an hour at a Wendy's. I was my God.
It was the worst start of a vacation, sitting in that drive-through line at a Wendy's thinking we could be anywhere else. But it was fine. My point is, food in general at Disney World, I don't know why I'm saying this. I don't think I would usually have thought I would say this. But in general, I think food at Disney World is better than it is at Disneyland. That's obviously not true for the churros, but for almost every other category, Disney World food is slightly more tasty.
Well, it's good that it's coming up in value, but it kind of hurts me that, it was the PGA grill at the end of your vacation in Hawaii. And Wendy's to start this
we
off.
miss the PGA Grill so much.
Those bookend dining experiences. Okay, so one other quick question about food. How was it, having a 13-year-old as far as trying to plan around their needs?
Well, our kiddo doesn't eat off a kids menu. I think that 13 is technically too old for Disney World anyway, the kids menu, but you could fudge that if you wanted, if your kid really liked the kids menu or whatever. But our kid could eat 3 adult portions and then be like, I'm still hungry. So we were sort of like, just order whatever you want off the adult menu. There were plenty of firsts for this kiddo, and they were like, I don't want to, I know we're going to talk about the Wild Africa trek, so I don't want to spoil it, but included with that, they call it a snack. It is a tiffin full of food. It is definitely a meal, but it's all African food. Very, very, very African palate. And our kiddo tried African food for the first time and loved some of it and hated some of it. And that makes sense. But yeah, the feeding of a teenager, I find, is actually just expensive, not particularly hard to do. You just have to pay so much money for the amount of food they can fit into their body.
It's amazing. They need a snack every 2 minutes. You're like, you just ate, but I want this.
The snacking, that's why I think Disney Cruise Line is the way to go for teenagers, because you could just be like, great, go get a piece of pizza if you need it. But like, I don't have to go out and spend $18 on your pretzel bites. Like, I just think it's nice on the Disney Cruise Line that food is included, but I digress. They ate well, they enjoyed it.
All right, so we've eaten all throughout Walt Disney World, but what about your actual experience in the theme parks?
Okay.
What was that like?
So day 1 was Epcot. I'll just quickly tell you where we went and when. Day 1 was Epcot. Day 2 was Hollywood Studios. Day 3 was Magic Kingdom. Day 4 was Animal Kingdom. And then we repeated Epcot and we repeated Animal Kingdom because we knew that those would be our foster kids' favorites. And we were right. On Epcot day, there was a new ride for us to ride. And I wanted to ride it with Christy because I felt like we should have that as part of our history together, that the first time I ever rode the rat ride, I did it with Christy. So we rode Remy's Ratatouille Adventure. We went to the really cute part of the new part of the France Pavilion that's like around back. I didn't get any crepes because of the lines, but I really wish I did because I love a good crepe. Who doesn't? I don't even want to start on a downer note because it's a cute ride. But if you compare it to Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, which is also a somewhat screen-based attraction, the technology for Remy's Ratatouille Adventure is older because they just carbon copied the ride from France. And so it is nowhere near to me as impressive as Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. And in fact, Christy was like, I didn't hear you have any reaction during that ride. You were so quiet. And I was like, first, I felt motion sick. The 3D thing is just a lot. But 2, I was taking in my mind like, oh, this is literally a screen-based ride. Like it is just driving from screen to screen. And I thought it would be a lot more physical sets because they always in the promo show the fridge scene with all the stuff. So I'm like, I thought it would be that. And it wasn't really that. So I don't want to start on a negative note because it's a really cute ride. It's definitely just a D-list attraction though, or a D-ticket, attraction. It's not to me that like high level e-ticket attraction you would hope for. And conversely, the next day we rode Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway for the first time. And that's an e-ticket, gorgeous ride. And it's fun, it's creative storytelling, and it's visually very impressive. They're bringing it to Disneyland. It opens next year. Before I rode it, I told Christy, like, I'm annoyed they're bringing it to Disneyland because I don't like them carbon copying. And I am a little still standing by that. I don't like them just putting 2 rides on both coasts, but I am happy that I get to ride this ride whenever I want because it's cute and it's so customizable. My hunch is it won't be a carbon copy. My hunch is there will be some slightly different things in the California one, especially because the California one takes place in the El Capitan Theater, and the Florida one takes place in the Chinese Theater. So all that to say, those were the 2 new rides that we could ride that we had never ridden, and we did them. And of the 2, Mickey and Minnie's is far and away the winner.
So did they have a favorite ride throughout the different parks as you guys went through this?
They did, but I'm trying to remember what it was.
That's okay.
It changed constantly. For a while on the first day, their favorite ride was like Test Track because it's fast, right? And then for like a hot second, they said Remy, but they felt really sick after Remy because it's motion simulator with.
I feel
3D.
like the cart we were in for Remy was way more motiony than other carts I have been in. So I definitely think that made a difference.
I mean, it's a really cute ride, everyone. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying it's a carbon copy of a ride that was made in France, 8 years ago? So it's not going to be as beautiful and new and shiny as Mickey and Minnie's. That's just a fact. But by the next day, they had replaced their favorite attraction with, of course, Rock and Roller Coaster because they were a teenager and it goes upside down and they thought it was so much fun and they were so scared. Rock and Roller Coaster took me out.
It makes me so sick.
I did it at the beginning of the day, didn't feel great, but I got through it. At the end of the day, we went back to the hotel, did the pool, had the fun, came back to see the Beacon of Light at night and to ride Tower of Terror because they'd never been on that, and to ride Rock and Roller Coaster. Tower of Terror and Rock and Roller Coaster 2 in a row took me out. I had to leave the park, go back to the hotel, and then go into a coma for 9 hours to recover. I was so motion sick. Those thrill rides were their favorite. I'm also constantly amazed at how fun Slinky Dog Dash is. It looks like such a kitty coaster. And then it's just like a lot of fun.
It's so cute. It's definitely, of the coaster variety, my favorite.
Yeah. And it's like nowhere near too intense for little ones, but it's intense enough that it's fun. So Slinky Dog Dash, one of the hottest tickets still to get in that park. It was also just cute to share with them the things that are like less visited. Like we did the Hall of Presidents. We did, what's that? Muppets 3D vision. We did stuff that, I don't know, people don't really talk about as the highlight, but they still got to see and enjoy. Okay, Magic Kingdom. I will just be completely honest and say there's almost nothing at Magic Kingdom that I think is better than what is at Disneyland. However, the caveat there is that Splash Mountain at Magic Kingdom.
How about the castle?
Oh, the castle, of course. It's beautiful, but it wasn't designed by Walt Disney, so it loses some points. But Splash Mountain is a better ride at Disney World, and I will give it that. Also, we don't have the People Mover anymore, and I freaking love the People Mover. That is just such a joyous little 10-minute relax and ride through the land. I love that. But in general, Magic Kingdom, whatever. The last day was Animal Kingdom, and we're going to talk about it separately, but we did a very, very, very expensive tour, and that was easily one of the highlights of the trip. But we also got to see all the animals. Our foster kiddo loves animals. This park was so much their favorite. Also, aesthetically, Animal Kingdom is gorgeous. It is just such a beautiful park. I will also say Flight of Passage. I took some motion sickness medicine so I could ride it. And Flight of Passage is a near spiritual experience if you're in the right headspace for that. It just is so beautiful and so emotional, and the music and the orchestrations are just so perfectly timed that if you just want to give yourself over to the Mouse House and just feel the feels, that ride is epically beautiful. You feel like you've just flown on the back of a dragon. It's amazing. That became our foster kiddo's favorite. So it was just whatever ride was the cool ride that we had recently did was their favorite. But I think that covers it for attractions. We basically did every cool attraction, every big attraction in all 4 parks.
Well, let's turn to your tour. Or do you want to talk about the nighttime spectaculars? Any thoughts about Harmonious? And I forget the name of the fireworks now. Magic Kingdom Enchanted or something like that. Enchantment. Okay. So this is where I think that the Disney fan community can be a little toxic. The idea of just replacing things and changing things and how much people hate it. So people were panning Enchantment as not being a good replacement to Happily Ever After. I'll be honest, I don't super remember Happily Ever After, except that I thought it was a great fireworks show. But Enchantment is a great fireworks show. I don't know. Maybe it's not as good as Happily Ever After. Maybe there aren't as many emotional moments or something as Wishes. But if you want an epic spectacular with some beautiful Disney music, great fireworks, and Tinkerbell flying out at the end,
It's going to hit all those buttons. It's going to make you happy. Our foster kiddo, their jaw was on the ground the entire time. And they were just like bouncing off the walls, excited about it. They were just like, that way. And then when Tinkerbell flew out, I'm not kidding, for 20 minutes, they were like, that was a real Tinkerbell. That was a person. It wasn't a robot. Just could not get over it. Also, put that up next to Mickey's Mixed Magic, which is currently showing at Disneyland. Mickey's Mixed Magic is my least favorite fireworks show I have ever seen in a Disney park. So it was my firework fix. I loved it. It was great. Harmonious. We didn't have like the best viewing spot, but we did get to sit leading up to the show, which was nice to relax. I'm going to say it. I liked Harmonious too. I know people are being hard on it and whatever. And listen, if you want to be hard on something, be hard on how ugly that barge is in the middle of the day. That is just a bona fide fact. Yeah, it's ugly. And it just sits there all day and blocks your view in the lagoon. So weird choice, Disney. But the actual show itself, it's pretty cool. I don't know. It is emotional. The music is cool. The music is in all different languages. The technology is really fun. So if I'm being honest, nighttime entertainment was a hit for us. The Beacons of Magic, what I would say, you do not need to go back to Hollywood studios if your only goal is to see projections on the Tower of Terror, because that's not as cool as you might think. But yeah. Now, Steve, you said nighttime entertainment, but I'm a little offended because that means that you're not talking about the best of the new shows, which is Disney's Kite Tales, which happens in the middle of the day at Animal Kingdom. Disney's Kite Tales was a utter joy. We watched it twice. We watched both The Jungle Book and The Lion King. We got pins. It was a whole thing for our family. A huge theme of our event was Disney's Kite Tales. And I got to say, is it as expensive or like visually wowing? No. But is it super cute to see a bunch of big giant kites flying around the little lagoon? It's so fun, so cute, and kids love it. We had a blast. And also you get to watch them crash land these giant Macy's-sized balloons in the bleachers, and it just feels a little daring. Like, is someone going to die? What's going to happen? I loved it. It was great.
Keeps you on the edge of your seat. You know, I heard somebody else on a different podcast talking about Enchantment too, and their daughter is a special needs child, and it was one of the few times that they were in the park, and they as the enchantment was going on, he was like kind of caught up into the fireworks, and he looked over and his daughter had taken her headphones off and was singing just like as loud as she could sing. And so sometimes I think we kind of forget about, we can be really critical about things, but maybe things are for kids, and we're all kids at heart. But
yes, and then I just think that we have to ease up on the beauty and the wow of it all, just because we have a nostalgic memory of something. Enchantment is very easily going to be the nostalgic memory that my foster kid takes with them. And when they get older, they're going to love that. So yeah, if you play the like wishes, dream a dream, I will immediately start crying. My heart will soar, whatever. I get that nostalgia feels good, but like, let them bring new stuff. Let them bring new IP. That's the other thing. I have a kiddo who loves Coco, like loves Coco, and they get to see Coco. Or a kiddo who, you know, likes Moana. And there's a beautiful Moana scene. Y'all, that Moana scene in Enchanted where they hold up the heart of the ocean, it is like shiver bumps, goosebumps city. Like, it's a beautifully orchestrated moment in that fireworks show. So I just think we all need to chill on the don't change the things I like vibe, because Disney's constantly going to change the things we like. And maybe we'll lose some of the nostalgia, but people get to create new memories attached to those things. And Kite Tales is not going anywhere. That's going to be there for 60 years.
60 years.
You mark my words. The 110th anniversary is going to be the 60th anniversary of Kite Tales.
Let's go to that. Let's go to the factory in China. They've been making kites for 60 years for this. All right, let's turn to one of the big highlights that I know that you were excited about for your time at Walt Disney World, and that is that tour at Animal Kingdom. This is something that I think my kids would really love, as being animal lovers ourselves. Mm-hmm. We would love to be able to do this sometime ourselves as well. What was that like, and what did you guys get to do?
Okay, so the tour is called Wild Africa Trek. For those of you wondering, it's $200, and it's 3 hours long. It is basically the Kilimanjaro Safaris tour, but on foot for half of the time, which is super cool. and then in a private truck for the other half of the time. And it also involves a private lunch on the savannah, overlooking all of the animals in a little metal tiffin. It's cute. You get harnessed up. There are some accessibility things. You have to be able to walk. You have to be between, I think it was 50 and 300 pounds. They put you in a harness. They weigh you before you go. So for any of you who are a little bit like, ooh, I don't know about that, read the know before you go whenever you sign up for a special thing at Disney, because all that stuff would be an annoying surprise if you got there and didn't know about it. However, it's for safety because you go over some super sketch bridges. I think they're really safe, but they make them look super sketch, and you're harnessed in. But there are a couple of surprise interactions I wasn't expecting. I knew we were going to walk across a rickety bridge with a harness attached to our back over the hippo lagoon and over the crocodile lagoon. Obviously, crocodiles are living dinosaurs. I was so excited about that. But there were a couple of other cool things that you got to do. They hook you into a harness and then let you go past the fenced area and stand on the edge of a cliff overlooking the animal thing while they feed the hippos snacks and treats and tell you all about them. And it was so cute because they like hit the box, which is the signal to the hippos that like they're going to get a cool treat. But then they threw like romaine lettuce, and one of the hippos was like, I'm not going to be eating lettuce. You better give me something better. So they threw an apple, and that hippo was like, I'm going to eat this apple. And it was really cute to watch. And then they threw watermelon, and they got into a fight over the watermelon. And it was just really fun. Then you go across the bridges. The cool thing about the bridges is you're literally directly above, like 15 feet above crocodiles that are like, you know, the crocodiles don't do much. They just sort of sit there, but that's kind of daring and fun and exciting. And then at the end of that bridge, they also let you go past the gate, hook you in, and stand over the pit of crocodiles while someone comes out and tells you all about the crocodiles. So super worth it. Super, really, really cool experience that not most park guests will get to do. Also, only 12 people can do this tour. And I had felt bad because our foster kiddo is a talker. And I was like, oh no, they're going to monopolize this tour guide. I even pulled the tour guide aside and was like, let us know if you need to pull them back a bit. And he was like, no, they're asking great questions. So basically our kiddo had a private tour guide that just talked to them for 3 hours. So it just was really cool. And then lunch, like I said, was in these tiffins overlooking the savannah. We got to like stop and see the animals more in depth. We got to hear stories about all the animals that they don't tell in the normal ride. They serve POG and they give you binoculars and you can see everything. And then at the end of it, I didn't even know they were going to do this. There was a photographer along with us the whole time. But at the end, they just give you all the photos. They give you a PhotoPass card that's like included, and you can just download them included in your tour. So we had like 100 photos, and it's not just photos of us, but photos of the animals we saw and the things that were happening while it was happening. So we have really cool family photos, and they stop along the way and say, do you want a family picture? Do you want a group photo? And so, you know, and when you didn't get to grow up with someone who's a member of your family, family photos are really special. I can't recommend it enough. I'm almost nervous to recommend it because it has such limited capacity. We checked and they said that it's 98% sold out in advance. So when tickets go on sale, you have to go buy them right away. But if this is something that's important to you or you'd like to do it, I cannot recommend it enough.
Was there different times during the day that they ran it, or was it just one tour a day?
No, 3 times a day. They can only do it 3 times a day because of the like snack feedings and the like special experiences, you know. Those sorts of things are not like, you can't just have an infinite number of tours go out because the hippos at some point are just going to be like, I've had enough snacks, thank you. Funny story though. So they're filming season 2 of Disney's Wild Animal Kingdom, the documentary series.
Yay,
Disney Plus.
That is amazing.
And yeah, Blake loved that show.
Mm-hmm.
Our foster kiddo loves that show. Seth and I like that show. In fact, if you're planning a Disney World trip, go watch that show, because when you go to Animal Kingdom, you're going to see all the animals that now you know their backstories. And you'll be like, oh my gosh, there's that baby Babirusa that's like rare and endangered, and that was just born last year or whatever. So they were filming the day we were there. And one of the things that they were doing is the crocodiles checkups, which means that the crocodiles were going to be pulled from the lagoon for their checkups. So we actually got to see the crocodiles the day before that lagoon was empty. and no crocodiles were in it. So we actually like had that experience. And if we had booked it another time, we wouldn't get to. They can't guarantee you'll see animals. So anyway, and we were hearing all the little like backstory about the film crew and like, you know, so-and-so dropped a camera in the hippo pool or whatever. And it was just like a fun little backstory. And now we can't wait to go watch that show because we know exactly what was happening in the park while they were filming season 2 because we were there. So we're super excited to check that out. And if you have Disney Plus, I would say go look it up because it's pretty cool.
So they also run we've done it twice over at Animal Kingdom Lodge. They do a nighttime safari that you can book, but it's not nearly as extensive. And you just basically get on a truck and they drive you through the savannas and everything like that, give you some background of the animals and what it's like working with them. So if people are looking for maybe a different safari over there, they give you a pin after that one, which I think was kind of cool. Did you get any kind of pin or anything like that? Although the pictures are worth more.
Almost every tour at Disney gives you a keepsake. That's like their like little jam. The keepsake from the Wild Africa Trek is your water bottle. It's like a metal water bottle that clips into your harness, and it says Kilimanjaro Safari's Wild Africa Trek on it. That's cool. You can't have any loose items on your body, none. So everything has to be clipped and whatever. That's why they give you a water bottle, because it's like, you need this to be able to do a 3-hour trek with us. But that's a cool keepsake.
Did you have a phone case? Did you bring something so you could do your
if you have a phone case, usually by the charging port, they can hook a little thing in and keep it secure. So they did that and then hooked it to my harness. So I did have a phone and I did take some pictures, but because they're traveling with you with a professional camera, everything they took was better than what we did. Like, it was really high quality photos they took of us. So
that's so exciting.
And I just feel like half the time Disney would nickel and dime on that and be like, not included. Like when we went to Aulani and we paid so much for a character dining experience, and then they want you to pay an extra $40 just to get your photos with Mickey. It's like, what are you doing here? A digital photo costs you nothing. Just give us the digital photo. But I digress. They did not cheap us out on this one thing. They gave us the photos and they were cool. We also, though, have all the random family photos of all the people who were with us. So that's kind of weird because you're like, oh, I feel like a little too close to this family here, but it's fine. That's cool. There's now pictures of us and people's mantles or something.
So one of the other things that you guys got to do while you were there was go to the new Cirque du Soleil show over at Disney Springs, Drawn to Life. Can you talk about that a little bit, Chris? What were your thoughts?
Okay. It is a nice to do, not a must to do. It's fun. It's cool. It's got some Disney in it. It's got some cool circus acts. It also literally feeds my demographic perfectly with their finale act, which is the first time in Cirque history that they had an all-woman finale act. And all of the animation in that scene are all of the female characters from Disney's animation history, including Mirabelle from Encanto and Louisa from Encanto. So it's up to date. Really beautiful show. It has a storyline.
They didn't talk about Bruno?
They didn't talk about Bruno. You're right. Sorry. I think they charge extra.
I'm sorry.
They do charge extra to talk about Bruno. Okay. It has like a loose storyline, which is unusual for a Cirque show. Most Cirque shows are just sort of like, haha, whatever happens, happens. But this one was sort of like a dead parent, because every Disney story has to have a dead parent. A dead parent who was an animator, and his daughter was learning how to animate. And it's beautiful. It's cool. I think that our foster kiddo was a little bit bored during some of the acts. During other acts, they were on the edge of their seat. That's the most amazing thing I've ever seen. But there were some that were just a little bit like, you know, not as cool because there's like 10 acts. So like some of them are going to be duds, right? But in general, if you have the money, I would say it's pretty expensive. So if you want to spend that money, you can. We treated it like our finale. It was the last night that we were there. And I don't regret it. We also then went around downtown, I almost said downtown Disney Springs, and shopped afterwards. And, you know, we made a night of it, but it's not probably, I would say, up to the quality of the Cirque shows in Vegas. Those were a little more impressive in my memory. So it just depends on if it's your thing. Also, please prepare yourself if you've never been to a Cirque show. Part of circus acts is that they don't usually talk, and the characters speak in like a circus language. And that threw our foster kiddo off so much because they kept being like, what did they say? What was that? But literally all they said was like, and it wasn't real words. But if you haven't been to a Cirque show and don't know that, they talk in fake words and gibberish.
Well, I definitely agree with them because we went and saw Mystere, and I remember like there was this one act that was like I was so bored, I almost left. It just went on forever. It's like these two, anyways, I won't even go into it, but some amazing ones there in Mystere as well. So before we wrap it up, Chris, I think when we were talking the other day when we did our show, kind of our cabana show for April, you kind of, and maybe I hope I'm not putting any words into your mouth, but you kind of had like some ideas or thoughts as far as like what it cost. Maybe the nickel and diming. Is it nickel and diming I'm looking for? Or
yeah,
and I don't want to turn this into a negative whatsoever, but just kind of what was your overall thoughts of that aspect of being at Disney World right now with, the added charges to a lot of different things. Is that where you're going with that?
Yeah.
I want to make sure I'm hitting the right spot.
Yeah. So I still believe that the Disney Cruise Line is a better product than a Disney World vacation. That isn't just because I'm an adult and the ship offers you the opportunity to lay around and do nothing. And Disney World is less that vibe. But it's also because when you pay for a Disney cruise, you don't have to spend money on the ship if you don't want to. Right. Like your food is included. You could prepay your gratuities. Like you could literally know that you could do this whole vacation without paying for extras if you don't want to. And we know plenty of people who do that. But at Disney World now, you cannot go without having, and you cannot go during spring break. I do not know how there were people there who didn't have Lightning Lane Plus or whatever, Genie Plus, because spring break crowds are oppressive. Like, how could you ride anything if you're waiting 3 hours to go on a ride? Like, and then you just go wait another 3 hours to go on the next ride. Like, you have to have that Lightning Lane to be able to do anything, which means for a family of 4, you're paying $60 a day just to be able to access something that used to be included. And likewise, food prices are up and, parking costs are up, hotel costs are up, but the hotel doesn't offer nightly mousekeeping. They don't make your beds or do anything really. And I would say, well, that makes sense because of COVID, except Disney World just got rid of all their COVID protocols. So which is it? And maybe it's low staffing. That could be, I'm certainly not, if you were going to say, was this trip amazing? Yes. Was it one of the best memories of your life? Yes. But there was not a day where we didn't have to pay a premium to get something that used to be included or that used to cost less. And the more I think about it, the more I'm like, this can't be just the future where people are like, we're going to charge more just because we can. Like, we're going to charge more just because we can get more. And so, since all the Disney executives listen to this podcast, I just want to take this opportunity to say that you are pricing people out of your vacations. You're pricing people out of your product. You have a huge crush right now of people going because they have not gone on vacation and they're desperate to go. But eventually people are going to be like, oh, I'd rather spend my money on the cruise line, or I'd rather spend my money, at Universal or another major theme park that isn't doing this. And so I'm just flagging that left a little bit of a rough taste in our mouth when we realized like, oh, there's just like no thing that's included. Like there's just no benefit that we are actually getting from staying on property. There's just like, it's just all those stuff that at least that were useful to us. Like you get to go into the parks a half hour early, but we're not those people anyway. So it's just stuff like that I felt, I hope Disney's listening and that they can start reversing some of these trends and then, knock on all the wood in the world, do not bring these trends to the cruise line. Do not become like Norwegian where everything is an upcharge, because that is one of the reasons why a Disney Cruise Line vacation is so magical. It's because you don't have to worry about, am I going to break my bank once I get there? And also, we all know the feeling of coming back from a vacation and being like, oh no, I spent too much money. And that leaves a bad taste in your mouth too. So I'm just, all I wanted to say is that to me, Disney Cruise Line is a better value now, even though on its face, it might look more expensive. When you include Lightning Lane, when you include food. And when you include those like magical extras, next thing you know, your trip is just as expensive, if not more expensive, than a week on the Fantasy. And so just flagging that as a DCL podcast, my fandom is loyal. Even though I had a blast, I think that Disney World's amazing. It's just maybe not as amazing as I want it to be given the cost.
So overall, though, great time, magical experience, experience it again with a child this time, somebody else, and seeing it through their eyes as well. What, if anything, surprised you or what hit you that was unexpected in this trip that you weren't ready for traveling with a kid?
Well, they got a stomach bug and we had to change our entire day one day. Luckily, it was like a 24-hour vibe, but we had to take him to urgent care, actually to an ER, because that was what was closest by. I don't know if this is normal, but there was a 0-minute wait at the ER, which was kind of nice. And it was new, so that was nice. California ERs are like, an 8-hour wait. In general, that was a new experience for me because Seth and I would handle a sickness in ourselves differently than we would handle a sickness in our kiddo. And so we had to experience what you and Christy probably have experienced many times of having something happen to your kiddo that debunks or changes the rest of your trip. And we've never really had to deal with that as parents before. So, we ended up pivoting. We just didn't go to a theme park that day. And then we used our last day before we went to the flight to go to Epcot one more time because we had an extra day ticket and we got to ride Figment because they love Figment, but they had never been on Journey to Imagination. And then we rerode the best ride at Epcot, which is Living with the Land. And then we had brunch with Christy and we got to meet Christy's family. And that was a pretty good brunch. Seth got a breakfast pizza he really loved. It was over at the boardwalk. I don't remember the name of the place.
Trattoria Al Forno.
Yeah. So, we got to have an extra meal and spend a little bit of extra time in Epcot that day. So had we planned to do that? No, but we did it and it was fine. So the thing we've learned is flexibility as parents because anything can happen and you have to be able to just give up something you were looking forward to support a kiddo. And that's okay. And we did it and we loved it.
What do you think your favorite memory of the week was? I mean, besides meeting me, of course.
Okay. This is going to sound sappy.
That's the point of the question.
But, and also we can't end on me being like, they're nickel and diming us. So let me share something that is a beautiful thing. The foster care system in America is a broken system, and foster kiddos are not given the same love and care and support as kids who are staying with their biological family many times are offered. Our foster kiddo had never been out of the state, had never been on an airplane, had never been to Disney World, of course, then, therefore, had never stayed overnight in a hotel, had never gotten in a rental car that smelled kind of gross, had never tried African food or seen any of the things that we got to see together. Our foster kid had never had those experiences, and every single day was a first. Every single day was a really cool thing. And at the end, I asked them, what was the week like for you? How was it? They said that it was the best week of their life. And it just made me so emotional. I feel emotional right now. So sorry, my voice sounds crumbly, but it just was like a validating thing because it's it's not cheap to do these types of things. It's not always easy to have to bend over backwards to book the flights and talk to the judges and do all this stuff when you're a foster parent. It's just so hard to travel. But to have a kid be like, that was the best week that I've ever been alive is just really special. So sorry, podcast. It's just, I'm emotional already, but it's just I just think to be able to offer that is something that not everybody gets to do. And so often our kids take for granted these things. And it was really special to be with a kid who wasn't taking it for granted and who was just living in every moment so authentically. So we'll probably spend all that money again and do the lightning lane all over again because we're going to be chasing that high of supporting a kiddo. But all that to say, we're pretty sure we're going to get to take them on a Disney cruise this summer. So maybe that will get to be the best week of their life next. But anyway, that's my positive note. And I'm sticking to it.
Well, I don't even know what to say after that, because welcome to parenthood, Chris, for you and Seth. And I'm just so happy that you guys have the ability to be able to bring that joy and those moments not into your lives, but into their life as well. And I'm so happy that you guys got to spend that week together and build those memories. And I know that you guys are going to build a lot of more memories as you kind of move forward. So
I think we just end it there. I think we say, so. Chris, that was beautiful. And thank you for sharing this with us. And thank you for doing this for that kiddo as well. And They are lovely. And I am so happy to have been able to meet them as well.
Well, that's good, because you're going to have to share a dinner table with them on the Wish.
Cannot wait. Cannot wait. Blake's excited too.
Funny thing, this morning on the way to school, they were like, I miss Blake. Say hi to Christy. I was like, oh.
Love that. Yay.
I do too. Yeah. So anyway. Oh, and email me if you're like a person who's like, I'm on the fence or thinking about foster parenting. Email me, because I'm pretty passionate about it and I'd love to connect you with resources or whatever. We'll include it in the show notes. But as someone who's been a foster parent to now 3 different kids, I have quite a bit of experience. And if it's something you've ever thought about, I would be happy to connect you with what that might look like for your community, because I think it's a really good cause.
Thank you so much, Chris, for sharing your experiences down to Walt Disney World. It just does our heart good to hear the end of that part and all the joy that you guys were able to experience together. Thanks to all of our listeners for coming back and taking a listen, for everybody who supports this show each and every week. We appreciate each and every one of you. And I guess on that, we'll just say we'll see you next time on the DCL podcast. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Well, that's going to wrap up our show today. Once again, I really want to thank Chris for coming on and sharing his and Seth's experiences. They took their foster kiddo not only on an airplane for the first time, not only staying in a hotel for the first time and smelling that funky rental car, but down to the beautiful Walt Disney World Resort as well. What a treat for them to experience that time together. And if you'd like to find out more about the foster care system, you can contact Chris at chriszbright@gmail.com, and he'll help you with any of the questions you have, no matter where you live in the country. Well, if you've been enjoying this show, we sure would appreciate it if you'd pass it on to others who would enjoy it as well. It helps us get the word out in the Disney cruising, and just the Disney podcasting community in general. And if you have time to go over to iTunes and leave us a review, that helps us as well. We want to thank each and every one of you who have taken the time recently to leave us a review. Once again, that helps us get the word out for listeners to find our show. As always, we'd like to give you a huge shout out to our Patreon community that helps us bring this show to you each and every week ad-free. If you'd like to find out more about our Patreon program, you can go to patreon.com/DCL podcast and find out all the information there. Well, the summer 2023 release date is here, May 2nd, as I record this today. Platinum is actually booking. Gold will be tomorrow on May 3rd, and then followed by silver on May 5th. And I want to wish you all the best as you look for those maybe once-in-a-lifetime vacations, whether you're headed to Europe, over to Alaska, or up to Alaska, or maybe down to the Southern Caribbean on those just amazing sailings. I hope you and your families find that trip that is best for you. Well, as we are headed towards the summer, on behalf of myself, Steve, Christy, and Chris, all of us here at the DCL Podcast, we want to wish you to be well, enjoy time with family and friends, whether you're heading out to Walt Disney World, heading aboard a Disney Cruise Line ship, getting ready for an adventure by Disney over to Europe or someplace else around the world. On behalf of all of us here at the DCL Podcast, we want to wish you to be well, enjoy time with family and friends, and we'll see you next time on the DCL Podcast.
The DCL Podcast is not affiliated with the Disney Cruise Line, Walt Disney Company, Adventures by Disney, or Run Disney. All of the opinions expressed on our shows are those of the hosts and the guests who appear on the show. If you have any questions about any of these products, please contact the Walt Disney Company.